Okay, let's head west to talk San Diego Wave visiting the other team sitting at the top of the standings, the Kansas City Current.
Got ourselves a water fight here. Wave versus Current. A splashy matchup, if you will. All right, I'll stop. That's enough. Okay, before we get to the match breakdown, I just got a question for you, man. Is Kansas City, really fucking good? Are they just good? Or is it too early to know?
Vlatko Andonovski. I think he's sort of the story here. Let me wind a little bit. I think this is a good team.
Yeah.
Very potent offensively. They've got real game breakers up front. And Vlatko, like we mentioned, not super afraid to unleash them. Tough test for the Current this weekend at San Diego, taking on last year's Shield winners. No Dabinia in this one as well. So odds kind of stacked against Casey heading into this one. I had one other quick thing on Vlatko. I think there might be a little bit of a revenge tour factor with this. Now, if you look at his squad, right? Who are we talking about? Up front, Temwa Chawinga, Dabinia, Bia Zanerato. Those are the three game breakers, not an American in the bunch.
Right.
On the entire squad, there's only 3 players with U.S. women's national team experience, and no huge names either. 10 caps for 33-year-old goalkeeper Adriana Franch, 8 caps for 27-year-old defender Haley Mace, and just 1 cap for forward Kristen Hamilton. So I kind of feel like Vlatko's like, oh, okay. Sure, it's nice and warm under the bus here, but I kind of want to come out and show you guys that I know how to coach a little ball.
Oh my God.
And I'm going to do it with different brand of players, different style, and I'm going to do my thing. And I think he's doing his thing. Shout out to them. Shout out to that team. They look rock solid to start.
God, I love that take. I love that take so much. Vlatko's just like, wow, that really didn't look great for me there. So maybe you guys made some interesting editing choices in that documentary, Alex. I don't quite agree with them.
It's like, I appreciate all the camera time, but you have to do your guy like that?
Yeah, for real. So speaking of Alex Morgan, I just want to point out, I didn't hear it on the broadcast, and not to the fault of the announcers in any way, but when that ball comes in early in the match, am I crazy? Alex Morgan shoulders that ball in toward Adriana Franch. I don't think I'm making that up. That is a left shoulder. It's not a handball. We just got to say facts are facts, and that looks like a shoulder to me.
I mean, I'm no orthopedic, but I think you might be right about that.
And you know what? Credit to her, because she shoulders that thing in, and it was threatening. Adriana Franch had to dive and bat it away, and it falls right to 33-year-old Swedish veteran Sofia Jakobsen, who buries it in the 17th minute. 1-0, San Diego Wave, and I think we got to do it, and I think she might get a little extra credit for it. But that shoulder that forces the save, Alex Morgan, assist in the ITC record book?
Yeah, I think we got to log it.
There you go. I want to point out a couple things from the first half of this match that I thought were a little interesting. The Wave had 61% possession in the first half, but it only kind of sort of felt like it. It didn't feel like a super lopsided game, really. The Wave had 8 shots, 2 of them being on target. KC Current had 12 shots, but only 3 of them were on target. The Wave had nearly 100 more completed passes than the Current in that first half, and KC committed 4 more fouls. All of that seems to be a recipe for one side battering the other, but it never really felt like that. One of those shots not on target for Kansas City came in the 25th minute when Bia Zanerato plays a long pass forward for Temwa Chawinga to chase down. And you guessed it, she chased it down with relative ease. And as I watched it, I caught it in real time, but only half caught it. You can hear the color commentator. When Bia plays the ball forward, you just hear, she goes, oh, see ya. And just she knew what time it was that Chawinga, and no disrespect to Kristen Westphal, because nobody's running with Chawinga there. She was blowing by her no matter what happened, and she fired it off the post. Unlucky that she didn't score there, I felt like.
Yeah, rock the post. And yeah, you heard it right. There was definitely an Osea in there as the ball's in the air. Very prescient. Nailed that call. Chawinga just looks impossible to handle. She's just one of these players. You see this in other sports where they just have a physical tool that is, you can't do anything with it. And on top of that, she's pretty lethal. With her feet, she rocked the post on that shot. And, we talked about what she did last week, just creating a goal or 2 within minutes of coming on. They're going to be a handful. I also think it's worth noting that trio that you talked about, Temwa Chawinga, Bia Zanerato, and Dabinia, have yet to log a single minute together, the 3 of them.
That's right.
So we have yet to even see these three on the pitch at the same time.
Yeah.
We're going to imagine it's going to take them a minute to get acclimated. But once they do figure out the chemistry, because all three of those players, kind of a lot like we talk about with Chelsea, they're great playmakers as well as being able to score. And that's a lethal combination for those three. So as soon as they get acclimated and have the chance to kind of like really find a rhythm with each other, they're going to be tremendously dangerous. I cannot wait I just want to fast forward to that point in the season.
What I like about it, it was happening in this match because it was like 90 seconds after Chawinga blasted off the post. Bia is pressing in the midfield, and Bia is such a genius that she just knows, fuck it, I'll just pop it up and just hit it past the defense, and Chawinga's just going to run onto it. And in that moment, I'm thinking of like, Chawinga, she fights off Naomi Girma and Hannah Lundqvist, two pretty good players, I would say. She fights them off for the ball and forces Kaylin Sheridan off her line to make a save. We talked about it with Bonda. We talked about it with Kundanaji. We talked about it with Oshwala. I think almost right away, Chawinga looks like she's going to be in that conversation.
I think she's probably already in that conversation.
It's got to be.
I mean, I have strong regrets. I will never refer to her as Tabitha Chawinga's sister again. I mean, obviously Tabitha's great as well in her own right, an ITC All-Star, absolutely. Yeah. But Temwa Chawinga is an absolute problem, a superstar, kind of in every sense. Like you just talk about jumps off the screen. Like literally whenever she's in the frame, you're just like, oh my God, this player is playing a different sport.
Yep.
And she's got incredible skill too. It's not just physical, very smart player as well. I think she's going to create a lot of goals, especially with those other two players, like flanking her. I think we're going to see her playmaking this season as well.
100%. And I mean, even talking about like the creation of goals, like before the halftime whistle, Casey was able to break through because I think it was Labonta who tried to play a ball into Chawinga, and three defenders are like, oh, fuck. And they have to run to Chawinga to make sure they close her down as fast as possible. The defender got a touch on it, but it falls to left back Izzy Rodriguez. She fires a shot, and it was a bit unlucky for Kaylin Sheridan. The ball took a little deflection off of Abby Dahlkemper, but it's in the side netting. And I honestly think it's largely because of the press of Chawinga. The press and the threat of Chawinga. Mm-hmm. I mean, so she helps get one there, their level going into halftime. After halftime, San Diego they had their chances. Alex Morgan fired on French from point blank range like twice around the 53rd minute. French stood tall, punched it away. In the second half, the Wave had 71% of the ball. They had 9 shots, 3 of them on target. But you could say that Kansas City was doing enough on defense to kind of make some of those chances a little bit tough. But yeah, I think on the counter side, if you're a San Diego Wave supporter, you might say like, hey, we didn't have our finishing boots on in this match. Like we could have at least ended this game with a point, if not won it. But that's why they play the game. So right around the 67th minute, Westfall for San Diego clearly fouls Bia in the box, but only after the ref somehow needed VAR to get it right, to get this obvious foul inside the 18 right. Labonta hits a penalty that's pretty much right down the middle, but I want to give Labonta credit for it because it's one of those penalties that, yeah, it's hit pretty much down the middle, but I think her body positioning, she looked like she was going to hook it way left. She was going to go for left corner. She sent Sheridan diving to her right. Maybe Kaylin Sheridan would come on here and say, no, dummy, I just guessed. I guessed to the right, and that's the way I dove. That could be right, but to me, I want to give Labonta credit for that one.
Yeah, and it had some like an elevation to it. It was going to be tough to deal with.
Yeah. And from there, I felt like Kansas City did everything they needed to do to just kind of see the match out. Vlatko at his squad, tied on points, top of the table. We're 2 weeks in, so let me ask, do you want to get reckless or should we exercise some restraint?
I want to get a little bit reckless.
Yes.
So the current 7 goals in their first 2 matches against pretty strong competition. Home against the Thorns, away against the Wave. I'm going to go out on a limb, on a little baby limb, and predict this team leads the league in goals this season.
Oh,
North Carolina Courage, they might have something to say about it. Bay FC maybe, Oshwala and Kundanaji, you mentioned. The Champs, Gotham FC, maybe they want to get in the conversation. But I think KC Current behind a newly motivated Vlatko Andonovski, I think they're my pick to lead the league in goals this year.
I love it, especially if Vlatko just continues to say, hey, Bia, and Temwa. You two should have the ball for a while. That would be a good go out and be yourselves. Be who you are. Temwa Chawinga and Bia Zanerato. So, with that kind of coaching philosophy, I think that might work out for him in this league.
I love it. I could definitely see that. So we'll keep it on that one as well. Coming up, we're going to scoot around the NWSL a little bit, talk a little bit about your Seattle Reign traveling into Chicago-ish, to take on the Red Stars. My Orlando Pride hosting Angel City. Then we're going to hop across the pond and talk a little Barcelona, Real Madrid. We're going to stay in Europe, talk about your WSL squad Manchester City, putting a thumping on Manchester United.
Damn right.
Dip a little toe into the news. And later this week, we'll be back. I'm going to recap all 4 of this week's UEFA Women's Champions League quarterfinal, second leg matchups, including the aforementioned Barcelona, taking on the team near and dear to our hearts, our beloved SK Braun. So like if you liked and subscribe if you enjoy talking women's football with your boys.
Appreciate all you guys rocking with us. And just remember, we'll never throw you under the bus. We're driving the bus. You take a seat. It's nice and comfortable back there. You just yell us directions from time to time. And we'll see you on the next episode.